We're just about to begin, everybody.
Imagine the courage to challenge an entire infrastructure of oppression.
Whoa there. All right, well, that was a hell of a way to begin that audio. I did not mean to cue up that audio. Speaking of audio, let us know if everything sounds good as it should. Because every now and then this program likes to glitch out on us. So yeah, welcome to the Rupp Report, reporting live from downtown Toronto. I am Jimmy Ruffian, and this is Nat Murphy. Prince. Nat Prince. That's sorry.
Nat the interrupter, Browse Prince, Murphy, who knows, I don't know. The Nat of all aliases, don't worry about it. Just please call me Nat, I don't even know.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about some things and stuff. So thank you for joining us. As always, I like to start off with a little bit of Canadian news. In a little bit, well, we actually have a lot of it on this one because the throne speech happened. And that's always like, I don't know, apparently a big deal. We'll see if it is or not.
I mean, hypothetically, it should be a big deal.
Hypothetically, it should be a big deal.
If they do the things that they say in the throne speech, so we'll see. I mean, fortunately, this time they're not saying, let's go to election. So, I mean, they still might. Yeah. But it doesn't seem to be an option right now, so I'm pretty happy about that.
That should have fixed it. It usually does.
Okay, let
us know.
Let us know if we're robocalling you.
Yeah. So, let's take a look at the first story here. Where's my screen? There it is. Leaked document reveals Ontario's plan to avoid another COVID-19 lockdown. Ooh, spicy. So what exactly are they, thank you, Jessica. What exactly are they going to do to avoid another COVID-19 breakdown? Well, it's, obviously, as they keep saying throughout this article, is still in draft, and this far out, should it really be this much in the drafting phase?
Yeah.
At this point,
I thought April was the drafting phase.
Yeah,
right?
If the same thing just kind of happens again, you'd think you'd have a plan for that. But I think what the crux of this is and why they want to come out with a different plan is because this time they don't want to shut everything down.
Well, they just don't want to give poor people money.
In that too. Yeah,
really.
They don't want to continue the social support systems, and
And like in them them blaming parties, it's only gonna go so far. I mean, that might have gotten a little bit of traction to this point, but honestly, my guy, when you're opening up schools and have like all the businesses open like they'd have, then I mean, you don't really have a lot to stand on.
Yeah, no kidding. And this graph can kind of attest to that. It looks like bad news. It's not as bad as the height that it hit in, looks like halfway through April, perhaps.
Yet.
Yeah, exactly. This is kind of like where we're at. We're still on an upward trend.
Hey, James.
Yeah.
Refresh my memory. What happened at the beginning of September at the low point in the chart?
What did happen at the beginning of December? I think kids started going back to school.
In universities.
Universities.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
Interesting that. No one saw that coming.
Yeah. It's an interesting coincidence indeed. I don't know if they've come out with like actual solid data on that, correlation, but it is most certainly interesting, to say the least. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. So I was reading this earlier. They have some plans to throw some money at things. The plan commits at least $2.2 billion to the pandemic response. The biggest single item is nearly $1.4 billion on a range of public health measures, including increased capacity in testing, labs, contact tracing, and efforts to prevent transmission of the novel coronavirus. So some of this sounds like kind of vague, like other dollar figures in the plan include $475 million to prepare the health system for a surge in COVID-19 cases. Well, to prepare the health system for a surge in COVID-19 cases, what does that really entail? But again, it's just a draft version for some reason. Again, I think it's like kind of strange that, we're in any kind of a drafting phase on this.
So, here's what I take away from this is that they're not considering making sure that there are permanent increases in capacity to the healthcare system. Yeah. Because they don't want to. They want
it's just like for this pandemic, they will consider that.
They're starting to again show that they're being caught with their pants down. And even so, they are trying to stay course towards defunding public services like healthcare. So even a pandemic is not able to Scrooge them into a change of heart. Like, these people have no heart. They don't care about people. You can see it because they're not trying to make sure that this never happens again. They're just trying to get through this particular election period. Because let's be honest, like, they're coming up for election in 2 years. The pandemic's going to be probably extending at least another year. And so, yeah, come on, honestly. Like, the way these guys think, everything is about holding on to power. Like, holding on to power and enriching their friends, right? There's no other reason for anything that they do. Sometimes it's ideological, like, like, fuck whatever Kathleen Wynne did. I'm going to do this, the opposite of what she did, just out of spite.
That's the thing about, like, a lot of their ideology and where it lies is, like, and as we've discussed previously on the show before, is a lot of the ideology is quite simply fuck liberals. Yeah. And that's about it.
Yeah, well, it turns out fuck liberals...
It's about as depthy as it gets for a lot of these guys.
Turns out fuck liberals is also a fuck Nana, who's in a fucking nursing home.
Yeah, and, incidentally, fuck your grandma. Yeah. Fuck your workers' rights. Yeah. Yeah. No. Are we dropping too many F-bombs for YouTube? I forgot YouTube might frown upon that.
Okay. Farting poopek nonsense.
Yes. Poopy butts. So yeah, that's also the one thing that they mention here too is an additional $90 million is labeled to be confirmed for a wage enhancement for personal support workers in home and community care. Now, it's nice that they would get like a special nod, but like I don't see this addressing anything about all the so-called essential workers and how essential everybody was at the beginning of this.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of that
Yeah,
kind
like
of talk.
There's no discussion of being able to raise public health workers' wages beyond 1% because they're locked in at that now. There's no talk of anything permanent and sustainable. And I think that is the most important part.
Yeah,
they're trying
I think that should be the emphasis. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's permanent and sustainable.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Yeah, exactly, right? So they are, and that's why I assert, and I will stand behind this until I'm blue in the face, is that they don't care about people and they're not planning for people. They're just trying to get through this particular little hiccup in their plans.
Yeah, that seems about right.
Yeah.
It's just a little bump in the road. We'll get through this and back on to the marching forward with neoliberalism as always.
And evicting Nana from
and
the
sometimes,
old age home.
like in many cases, they're just doing that anyway. Like not even like, oh, despite the pandemic, they're just going ahead with it in so many degrees.
Yeah. So like honestly, any of you who were like, oh, DF is doing like pretty good.
DF, I like that.
I just said
DF, man.
Yeah, so despite my misgivings, like DF is doing like pretty good. No, he's just not. He just wasn't being as openly maniacally evil as Trump during the beginning of the pandemic, right? Like just because he wasn't literally drooling and bumbling over himself doesn't mean that he was doing good. Right? He was caught with his pants down because of already the cuts to healthcare.
Yeah.
And so he had to do something to sort of smooth that over so he didn't turn into a literal Trump right now. Which, fortunately he's got that, tiny bit of preservation, but I would not call that a lot, and I would not call that a win.
Who would?
I don't. We just talked about YouTube not wanting us to use such flaming language, so I'm trying to refrain.
Fair. That is, yeah, okay. Well, I have our next story queued up here. What did I do with it? There it is. Highlights of today's speech from the throne. Well, not today's, Wednesday's, yesterday's. But yeah, it's a handy dandy little list here. There's a couple things that it does not mention that I want to be sure to, though. But a couple of the highlights here that I think stood out. Jobs, direct investment in the social sector, infrastructure, and media training to quickly scale up workers, and incentives and employers to hire and retain workers, blah, 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 blah. Pretty standard stuff there that, much like most of the things in the throne speech, if I compare it to ones of days past, I don't necessarily have a whole lot of faith in. A lot of stuff they love to throw down in those throne speeches that doesn't really ever happen.
Yeah.
So, and I'll be talking more about that in a moment. But the program, which was set to end at the end of the year, initially offered to cover 75% of wages, up to weekly maximum of $847 for workers at eligible companies and nonprofits affected by the economic slowdown caused by the COVID-19 panic. It was updated in July to both expand eligibility and gradually reduce the subsidy rate.
The COVID-19 pandemic, not panic.
Yeah.
But I like that you called it the COVID-19 panic.
It's I guess I was trying to read too fast and didn't realize what I said.
But I like it. I'm keeping it.
Taking care of childcare. What was the one that I wanted to see though? Criminal code changes for senior. Oh yeah. Okay, this one. Noting that one of the greatest tragedies of the crisis has been the lives lost in long-term care homes, the government is promising to amend the criminal code to penalize people who neglect seniors under their care. The government said it will also work with provinces and territories to set new national standards for long-term care.
So my question is, Doof and Mike Harris, what are they going to say about this? because Mike Harris is still unfortunately alive and well and working his machinations behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, how are those agents going to work with this? Like, I hope that this passes. I hope this becomes a thing because the way that
it's a whole lot of promises. Whether it comes true or not is a totally different thing.
Yeah, right. Because like the standard of care in long-term care homes is abysmal, and this is speaking from experience with my grandmother and great aunt being up in a long-term care home up in Dryden. Family had to be there like all the time just to make sure that our family members were taken care of, right? Like you just, because of the understaffing and payment of the staffers and the quality of staffers you'll get because you can't maintain people for that kind of wage, like it's awful. And just putting vulnerable people at the end of their lives into this kind of vulnerable state to be neglected and abused is disgusting.
And
like the fact that it is an option to make money off of that is repulsive.
Yeah, and this is not a new phenomenon. Like we've been watching a lot of like classic Simpsons recently, right? And one of the ongoing jokes with Grandpa Simpson is the home that he's in, or joking about putting him in a worse home. And
I mean, that was the plot of Happy Gilmore.
Yeah. Another like 90s movie. Like this is like a thing that is not new by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, well, like, abuse of people in care is kind of as old as people in institutionalized care, right? Like it's just kind of, unfortunately, it is what it is in that respect. But the fact that we've come this far and have failed to do any better is
and in some cases like the pandemic, horrifically worse.
Yeah. And what we saw near the beginning of this pandemic and the news that was coming out in regards to these old care homes is that was pretty horrifying. And to know that it's probably in a large degree still happening is
I mean, that's
even
because
worse.
There's another outbreak in Ottawa long-term care home. That's where the recent fatalities have come from.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
that I did not know. I've been I've been trying to just get the satellite facts on COVID-19 in a lot of respects. Like I'm trying not to like read too much COVID-19 news.
Well, I'm just I'm focusing a lot on the numbers around Ontario because I'm trying to figure out, especially numbers around Toronto. I'm like, can I leave the apartment? Should I volunteer?
Well,
to
yeah,
go into work?
that's basically all I want to know. Is it like how bad is it?
Yeah.
That's basically it. Like, give me the raw facts there. And
so like yesterday, cases in Toronto about 100, and this is new cases. This isn't talking about like already infectious cases. I'm talking about new cases. Yesterday, about 100. Is that right? Yeah, because across the province yesterday it was 350, and then today 400. Toronto yesterday about 100. Today 150. We're not doing great.
Yeah, that's not too great.
No.
That's a little concerning.
It is, especially since like a month and a half ago we were down some days to like single digits. So.
And the Canadian Disability Benefit, the speech also included a promise to another group that has been hit hard by the pandemic, Canadians living with disabilities. The government said it is working on a Canadian Disability Benefit modeled on the Guaranteed Income Supplement for seniors. Okay, again, sounds good.
We'll see if it
How
happens.
good is it? I like the sounds of that. Climate change, reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 30% below 2005 levels by 2030. It's also below 30% below 2005 levels by 2030. How half measure does that sound? Like quarter measure, even like some sort of fraction of a measure that they're taking against climate change. Bold move, guys. Bold moves. we're going to take a fraction of this problem and maybe deal with it. Cool. I have a lot of faith in that one. Systemic racism. Well, most of the speech focused on Canada's COVID-19 recovery plan. One section was dedicated to addressing systemic racism in Canada. Most of those initiatives have been announced already or were hinted at over the summer as Black Lives Matter protests erupted across North America, and the RCMP dealt with the blowback from a number of controversial arrests and use of force incidents. Yeah. Again, I don't have a whole lot of faith in that. Myself and my kind of outlook on police and where we stand on it right now is I would regard myself as an abolitionist. I believe the police, as they currently exist, should be absolved, like dissolved. The police force.
Yeah, not absolved. Fuck
Yeah,
those guys.
no, absolved, dissolved, like the force itself, and something else put in its place. What that is, we can have different discussions and arguments about, I suppose. But as a bottom line, I believe municipal police, as we currently understand it, needs to end.
Mm.
But
Yeah, particularly at the RCMP.
So when they promise stuff like this, it feels just very kind of placating, pacifying, whatever. Yeah, I don't think it carries a whole lot of weight, personally. So I don't have much faith in that one myself. We should have come up with a score system of Justin Trudeau heads. It's how many Justins of faith are we giving this promise?
Yeah, I believe Justin 2 out of 5 heads.
Yeah. New airline routes. Who gives a shit about that?
No, actually, that's super important.
Is it?
Well,
okay, well,
yeah,
you take this one over.
Canada is so far apart that if you stop having routes to places like, let's say, Red Deer, how the fuck are people going to get there or out of there? You need regional routes. For example, in Dryden, there's, I'm not sure about currently, I haven't checked because I haven't had cause to check, but the Bearskin Airlines was, to my knowledge, the only one going in and out of Dryden. Because smaller airports, it's expensive to get to and from, right? But even in Dryden, in terms of trying to people trying to travel around there, Greyhound doesn't even stop in Dryden anymore, and Dryden is 4 hours between Thunder Bay and Winnipeg. So, there's Kenora an hour and a half down the line. Pretty sure that's how far it is. But
that is important. I actually didn't think of that
transportation in and around Canada is massively
I've
important,
experienced it firsthand. I don't know how I didn't think of it. Trying to get around by train as a musician. Oh, good Lord.
Well, especially since a lot of these communities are no longer serviced by train, right?
Yeah.
There's no train service in Dryden. There's no train service in Pembroke. Communities that historically had train stations and train service, most of them have gone the way of the Dodo. Now Via Rail basically just runs I think there's one route that goes up north. You have to take a train if you want to go to Moosonee, and then the train that runs east and west. Yeah, but fuck. Canada just in general has lacked the political will to make meaningful commitments to transportation options across the province, and also including areas the Highway of Tears. Highway of Tears is partly called the Highway of Tears because there's no public transportation. People hitchhike and they disappear because there's no other options if you don't own a fucking car. So, yeah, big fucking country like this with mostly no public transportation in most areas of Canada. Yeah, it's a big deal.
Well, thank you for adding that. And, because I wouldn't have. Quite simple as that. And that's why you're everybody's favorite co-host. And it takes the pressure off me because while you were talking there, I was able to pull up another subject that I almost forgot I wanted to talk about.
Oh, yes.
Because as soon as you mentioned red deer, something rung a bell, something came to mind. But I'm going to get to that in a minute. I wanted to talk more about the throne speech. Like, one of the biggest burns that I still feel from throne speech past is the fact that they promised voter reform.
Yeah, I know.
I always felt that the following election, Justin Trudeau deserved to lose for that alone.
Yeah.
For just failing to do that. To just like, that was a huge deal to a lot of people, myself included.
Yeah.
I did not vote for Justin, but nonetheless, when he won, that was one of the few things I thought he actually might do.
Yeah.
And he did not.
Yeah.
So that really busted my chops, and I
oh, for sure.
yeah.
I mean, I understand why they didn't do it, because if they do it, then the
it
NDP
was
will
against
take
their
over.
interest of power, but that's what was impressive about promising it.
Oh,
was,
I know.
You know, and we had, and Canadians, I think, put good faith in this guy to do that, and I think too many of us easily forgave him for it. Personally.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of things to be unforgivable to the Canadian government for in regards to a lot of issues that, are outside of my personal and immediate realm of experiences because of my privilege. But yeah, in terms of improving democracy, that's something that definitely affects us all. And yeah.
Was it mixed member proportional representation? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's the idea, right?
Yeah, but is that the acronym? Because I remember, like, during one of the elections in, like, 2005, I was actually...
I can't remember.
Oh.
It sounds about right.
Okay. Oh, I was working with the NDP, and I was also volunteering to go to, like, all candidate debates to try to put that forward. But I just can't remember exactly what the acronym is anymore, because it's been 500 million years.
Yeah, and I remember, like, when they did there was some sort of, like, voter referendum that they did a while back too, and ended up like most people didn't understand the second voting card that they got, and it was kind of a catastrophe. I think like 60% of people didn't even fill out 60% of the people that voted didn't even fill out that ballot. It was well, and because people weren't informed.
Yeah.
And it was really a shame because like for something like that, it should be easy to inform them. For every commercial that talks about voting, they're talking about, you just tag on the end there, hey, there's going to be a second ballot this year. This is what you should expect and why you're filling it out. Yeah. Simple as that. It takes 10 seconds to say. But they did not do it. And yeah, so, and then another thing that they promised that isn't mentioned in that list that was interesting, and I think it's one of those things that is tangible enough and kind of, I don't know, normalized enough in Canadian way of doing business that this actually might happen. CanCon regulations coming to streaming services like Netflix and Disney Plus and things like that. I think that's an excellent move. We need stuff like that.
Yes.
So we're not just inundated with nothing but American content, and it's good for our arts. It's good for our economy. Yeah. I have nothing really bad to say about that idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Like for the economies of specifically places like Vancouver, Hamilton, Toronto, 100 bazillion%.
Yeah. The way
Winnipeg.
television and stuff is like taking off around here. It's like great that they're using our locations and a lot of our local talent for behind the scenes stuff and whatnot. But in terms of the actual productions, they're still mostly American productions, right? If not all American productions.
Yeah, like Umbrella Academy.
Yeah. I love Umbrella Academy. Umbrella Academy is nothing but my hometown of Hamilton and Toronto. So yeah, it's you can definitely see it in that show if you've lived in this area at all. So I love kind of seeing that, but at the same time, it's like I would like to see more Canadian talent on the screen and or in the credits, or yeah.
Like, it's all well and good when Ryan Reynolds does something.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
We can't.
But he's one of the few that cracked the American glass ceiling of Canada talent. You know what I mean?
Isn't Ryan Gosling ours too?
Yes. Ryan Gosling is in fact from Burlington.
Yeah.
Yeah, very close by. Where's Jim Carrey from again? I actually forget
Vancouver,
that.
I think.
No, it was Ontario.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure. Here, wait.
Let
Jim
us ask the
Carrey,
internet.
Raised in Newmarket.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
No shit.
Yeah.
Huh.
And Carrey relocated to Los Angeles to pursue comedy. Oh, it doesn't say what year he did that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
1962, huh?
Yep.
So he was 21 years older than me. Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. 1962. So that would have made him when he was in like Ace Ventura and stuff. Like what, 30? Almost my age.
So
like maybe a
he's
year or two younger
58.
than I am now.
Ace Ventura's 58.
Yeah, that's pretty wild,
I
isn't
think
it?
I just hurt my own feelings.
The Mask is 58. Yeah. I think like I have such fond memory. It's a shame that Ace Ventura has not aged well.
No, it is not.
That whole ending.
Yeah.
Because other than that, it's like I really like it.
Yeah,
And
there's
it's a shame that that's is what that thing is.
Tainted by
But
transphobia.
we have the second one still, right? The second one isn't super problematic, is it? I'm trying to remember. I haven't seen the second one in a long time. I have fond memories of it. Maybe nobody shatter that for me. I'd rather not know.
Let's not
perhaps.
talk about it and don't watch it.
I don't want to cry on the air, guys.
Yeah. Let's not talk about it and don't watch it. How's that sound?
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, we got kind of distracted there. What were we talking about?
I think you wanted to talk about Red Deer?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So some stuff went down in Red Deer. A friend of mine, radio personality and comedian from Hamilton, Mike, he is Mike Mitchell, that is. This is his Twitter. Follow him, Mike Mitchell, at Mike Mitchell. But yeah, he shared this from City News Edmonton. Here, let's get the sound on here before I play it. I actually haven't watched this yet. I just, read the thing and was like, oh boy, okay. So anti-racism rally canceled in Red Deer after hate groups disrupt event. I would hate to say, like, in terms of stereotypes of that portion of our country, I would hate to say that I was surprised. Like,
I've got family and friends in Alberta. You can say it.
Yeah, they, particularly Red Deer. Like, as I understand it, that's about as bad as it gets in terms of white
Supremacist
racism, white supremacist racism. Yeah. So, yeah. Let's see this video here.
It was supposed to be a community conversation about anti-racism in Red Deer, but before the event could even begin, it turned violent.
It's traumatic. All of us are traumatized.
Keisha Daniels spent her summer in several small Alberta towns calling for racial equity. She was supposed to be a speaker Sunday. Her voice was silenced when the event was canceled because of the violence.
There was no way we could have a peaceful event with these people there assaulting people.
Sunday's event follows a hit and run of an anti-racism protester in the nearby community of Ponoka.
So, yeah, there you go. I was just saying to some Americans today in this left book group that I'm in, as much as I sometimes hate the left book groups, I'm still in them. and
I'm not on Facebook, by the way.
talk in them.
If
That's
anyone's
on,
thinking,
not
like,
on Facebook
yeah, if
anymore.
anyone's like, did not block me, what did I do? No, actually, I have deactivated my account, so I'm just not there.
But yeah, one guy kind of piped up because I'm Canadian, and they were talking about the American election, and they're like, why do you even have an opinion in this? I'm like, my guy, these everything you guys do has an immediate effect up here.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been on the rise and emboldened just as much here as it has been down there in terms of percentage rising of this kind of hate. So yeah, I feel like we very much have a stake in this game.
Oh, absolutely, especially since we know that Canadian politicians on the right actively talk to their American counterparts to bring these ideas.
Strategize. There we go. Together, all that stuff.
So this isn't just passively happening here; it is actively happening here. Because the folks who are on the right in Canada very much are watching as what is happening in the U.S. and trying to emulate that actively.
Yeah.
Right? And so we can't sleep on this. And it shits me to fucking death when anyone
There we
tells
go. We're
me
definitely getting demonetized now. I don't even know if we're monetized. I don't think we qualify for it yet. But that
like, where's my check? Anyways. It shits me to absolute fucking death every single time that someone tells me to not worry about something. Fuck off, right? Like, people telling me, I'm pretty sure I unfriended someone about this, like, it feels like a decade ago, might be a decade ago. Someone on Facebook telling me that I don't need to worry about these anti-choice protesters because our reproductive rights are secure. Are you fucking kidding? Like, they're never secure. Yeah. Right?
These guys want to take them away at every chance they get. It's a huge, political win for them. I bet you most of them don't even care about the issue on a personal level. They probably all have, some person on the side that they have gotten pregnant with by accident and had an abortion in some capacity themselves. So, I don't think they're really idealistic about this. It's just it's a great political play that captures a certain demographic.
Sure, but aside from them, the right to life or whatever organizers, these religious groups, they're organized. They have been chipping away at things progressively. Look in the U.S., all the areas now that don't have access to reproductive health care. They have been, this isn't a short-term goal for them. They don't see one loss as oh, well, I guess we should give up, right? Just the way that we should not see one win as, oh, well, we got it. I guess we can rest in our laurels because they will not, and they have not.
Well, that was the actual argument that I was having in that left book group, and it's an argument that I have so often in these groups. I am so sick of it, is the nature of voting for Biden. And everybody's like, no, I don't want to participate in bourgeoisie elections, theory. And it's like, there's going to be a guy picked for president in 2 months. It's just as simple as that.
Yeah.
I would rather him not be Trump. And so doing a little thing, if it is within your capacity to do, I would say it's a smart move.
Yeah.
And if for some reason you think that's going to pacify the masses in a certain way, then guess what? Your whole argument that Trump and Biden are the same is null and void, because that openly recognizes that they are very different. There are so rife contradictions in these arguments that I get into all the time, but they're so just married to, as Zizek says, eating from the trash can of ideology. They are their ideology blinds them from the fact to understand what they're actually eating is trash.
Yeah.
It's rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, and here's the thing is that if you are saying don't vote for Biden because you have working knowledge that there is an active revolution that is going to tear down the state prior to the election, cool, amazing, great. I see your point. Why would you vote? There's
Yeah.
not going to be a vote anyways. But in lieu of that, like when we're talking about lesser evils, literally evil,
Yeah.
like when we're trying to talk about like trying to hold back literal fascism, literally, because oh my God, if anyone,
I love your emphasis there.
literally.
And like, you know, if
Like,
you're
if anyone at
again, they came up with like this whole theory argument of what is it? Liberalism is what leads to fascism. Liberalism is the inverse of socialism, and it's like blah blah blah. And it's like, yes, that in essence might be true, but I fail to see how paving the path for an outright fascist who's going to escalate this situation to a degree that will hurt untold numbers of people, or perhaps solidify his fascist government in a way that will be much harder to dismantle than if we allow Biden to win. In dismantling that kind of government, like I just don't understand where their heads are at. Nothing about this is strategic to me.
Yeah, and here's the thing too, is that I find that a lot of folks who liked to smell their own farts like that, like, what are you actively doing in your community right now anyways, right? Like, if you are out there just like working with unhoused people, getting them supplies, getting them food, working with governments like trying to, improve their living conditions. If you are active in your community, actually doing stuff, cool, okay? But like, if literally all you're doing is like maybe marching and then telling everyone not to vote, come on.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
I don't see what you think
Like,
what you think you're contributing to. I just don't understand.
This is not valuable, right? Like, talking people into complacence, because that's what that is, complacence, right? Like, oh, we'll be, they're all fascists anyway, blah, 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 blah. Well, there's clearly degrees.
Like, you could
right?
say, guys like Biden will eventually lead to fascists. Sure, fine. But there's one right on our doorstep right now. And I will take the guy that will eventually lead to another one later than the one right now. Because the guy that might lead to one later is a might if we actually do something about it.
Yeah, and that's a big fucking if. Because, like, like 5 minutes past the election, or 5 minutes past who we find out is president, what are you doing then? Like, are you building your utopia?
Yeah.
Are you
I think
building your political
at the
parties?
moment, just as you're casting your ballot for Biden, you should be protesting against him at the same time.
Yeah.
Those two things can coexist. And again, it's called having an actual strategy to better our conditions.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Big sigh. Yeah.
I didn't think that we're going to be talking about that this quickly, but what are you going to do? It keeps coming up. How can you stop talking about it?
Exactly. Like, it's one of the most frequent arguments that I have, because again, in my leftist circles, like, there's people that feel strongly about this in all sorts of directions, and I just don't understand that just being stubborn about not casting the ballot and thinking, like, they turn the argument around a lot. Like I was saying this to you before the show, like they try and turn the argument around, like I'm making this argument that all we should do is vote and then dust our hands and be like, yes, job well done, we're pacified. And it's like, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Yeah,
like,
that's the
why do you keep turning it into that?
opposite.
Yeah. Like,
it's vote and, not vote or.
Yeah.
And actually, since we're on this topic, we should probably talk about the passing recently.
Yeah. So yeah, that's actually a good segue. I already have the thing up here. Well, actually, all the things you will find when you're trying to search for this now is highlights like this, these sort of headlines with the spooky specter of death, Mitch McConnell, and his. Yeah, he just looks haunting.
Yeah.
He's a haunting-looking man.
That's what happens when you don't have a soul.
Yeah. Politics mixes with law as Trump closes in on court pick. Politics mixes with law, huh?
I was about to say, I'm like...
You don't say. That's new. I'd never seen that happen before. This is so unprecedented.
Can they?
Can they even do that?
Is that a thing?
It's like, half these people's jobs, or all of these people's jobs, is to write and pass laws.
Politically.
politically as a political party. In fact,
Fuck. Yeah. So
I don't know. I don't need to mock the AP, but that's a weird headline.
Yeah. Okay. Come on. All right. So we've recently in the past week found out about the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and for people have complicated feelings about her. Totally valid. At the same time, it is terrifying that she may have been the only person maintaining reproductive rights in the U.S. So the issue right now is that the Republicans want to force through a replacement for her before the election. And this is something that when there was who's the guy that died when Obama was still in office?
Shirley. Yeah. Shkreli.
So when he passed, the Republicans made a big fanfare about if he replaces a Supreme Court judge in election year, then that yada yada, undemocratic, yada yada, don't let the black man choose someone.
So what I was saying, like in the trailer for this, when I said how that relates to how her passing is going to relate to liberalism moving forward. There's a lot of takeaways that you could get from that. But I think one of the takeaways that we should get from it is that it's not going to go anywhere ultimately in our favor. We have to understand that, like just trying to maintain this status quo liberalism forever ongoing it's not practical. For numerous reasons. I'm going to show a couple examples that I have already queued up. But, like, for example, like you said, the last Supreme Court justice that died under Obama, they blocked him from doing it under this idea that, it was his last year or coming to the end of his term. Therefore, he shouldn't pick one. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, I guess you could make that argument. The Republicans at that time were being dirty and underhanded, as they always are.
Yeah, like it wasn't in good faith at that time anyways.
It wasn't in good faith at that time. And of course, the Democrats just let them have it. And that's the thing that's frustrating about this system, is the Democrats are supposed to be the opposition to the Republicans, but they oftentimes just don't oppose them.
Yeah.
They just let them have whatever the hell they want.
Yeah,
or put up some sort of BS sort of like weak, like, oh, don't do it. Like, I'm going to show you a clip of Senator Cory Booker. And, oh, my dear God, Cory Booker, you are adorable. You are an adorable man. I don't know what to say with your puppy dog eyes. What you think you're going to get out of the Republicans who are rushing this through, ramming this through, and because of the precedent or your political weakness as a party, constantly allowing them to get away with this. Mm-hmm. This is all you have to say.
Let me ask you about the Supreme Court vacancy that sits open. President Trump says he will announce his nominee this Saturday. And Lindsey Graham, the chair of the Judiciary Committee, as you know, has said he wants an expedited hearing and a vote within the next few weeks before we hit Halloween and certainly before the election. Democrats don't appear to have the votes to do anything about that right now. Do you think differently?
No, we don't appear to have the votes to do anything about it right now. We still don't know where everyone stands. And so it's going to be a long shot. We're going to do everything we can to try to appeal to their sense of decency.
They don't have
Did you catch that?
Like, when?
You're going to do
when?
what?
When?
You're going to do what?
Like, have you found it? Do they have it? No. They...
he deserves to have like a drunk looking face like that in that freeze frame, because that is the dumbest shit I have ever heard.
Like,
at least come out of Cory Booker. I don't know. Like that. Their sense of decency. The fact that they're doing this in the first place when, just a few years back, they said that this would be totally politically wrong and anti-democratic. And here they are doing it.
Yeah. In the year of our Lord, 2020, and they are still talking like there is any sense of decency to
this
be
is why
had
everybody
within
hates
the
you guys,
Republican
Democrats. Is because everybody knows the Republicans suck. You're supposed to be that thing that fights them.
Yeah, you're supposed to suck less.
And this is what you do.
Yeah.
Appeal to their decency.
That's not a thing. That's not a thing.
They don't have it, man. Like, what the fuck?
Like,
I don't even want to show the rest of the clip because the rest of it is honestly meaningless. You can watch it yourself. It's on MSNBC. But that's all you really need to know about that clip is they don't have the votes, so they're gonna do their best to appeal to their sense of decency.
Are they gonna grow it in a lab? I just don't. How?
It's amazing. These guys love to lose. They love to lose.
Yeah, I don't know what other takeaway you could take from that, honestly. Like, they're still trying to play by some rules that don't exist, right? Like,
some codified, unwritten laws of civil politics that, for some reason, only the Democrats are following these rules.
Yeah, like, it's bananas. It's bananas. Like, you need to stop pretending that the Republicans care about
so
anything.
Precious. I want to hear it again. Let's hear it again. I want to go back and hear him say it again after admitting that they don't have the votes. So this is, okay. I wish I had like one of those soundboard things where I could just punch a thing and hear him do this soundbite.
To do anything about it right now. We still don't know where everyone stands, and so it's going to be a long shot. We're going to do everything we can to try to appeal to their sense of decency.
Yeah, it's going to be a long shot, so we're going to appeal to their sense of decency. A long shot is a freaking understatement, my guy. I'm
going to stand in this lion's cage and appeal to his sense of vegetarianism.
It's
in order to keep him from eating me.
Freaking wild, man. That's like what?
Right.
Were you born last night?
Let's just like people don't even respect the respectability politics, anyways, right?
Yeah,
like they don't.
Yeah,
they don't. So it's not working.
Yeah,
it hasn't been working. It doesn't do anything.
And so this is like the problem with liberalism into the future. This is the problem with trying to maintain this status quo. And it's very much a status quo that exists in Canada. You just see it so much louder down south because I think it's, maybe sort of foreshadowing what's to come for us, perhaps. I don't know. But it's a bad sign.
Yeah, because like the right has completely dropped any facade of trying to be anything other than evil.
They're not interested in the maintenance of liberal democracy.
They're not even interested in the appearance of it.
Yeah,
like they've dropped.
Oh no,
they've dropped the mask. Like they're not concerned about doing what he's doing with the polite speak and stuff. Like they don't care.
Oh, we're gonna appeal to their sense of decency. You schmuck. You absolute schmuck.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get into the next part. Here we go. Headline from CTV News here. Officials plead for calm amid anger over Breonna Taylor case. Well, what is the Breonna Taylor case? Can you even call it the Breonna Taylor case? Is there a case involving Breonna Taylor right now? Because I don't think there is, based on the announcement that was made.
So it sounds like there's a case against the bullets that missed her.
Yeah. That's what the one of the three police officers responsible for Breonna Taylor's murder is being charged for. is the bullets that missed her. If that is not some sort of political play, purposeful spit in the eye,
like that's horrible. They're trying to incite people.
That
Absolutely.
is
horrifying.
that is mockery.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
are mocking you.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that I think in part they did this because if they actually charged him for her murder, there's no way that they could prove that. There's no way that they could acquit him of that. The only crime that they could feasibly, in my mind, acquit him for are the bullets that didn't hit her. And so, like, everything about that is just insulting, and I think
It's
meant
so
to
gross.
I think it's meant to signal to other officers that you got the green light.
Yeah.
Still no repercussions for
there's
you.
gonna be
To
none of
signal to
that.
the right that you can continue committing violence like this. You can continue lynching black people. You can continue running over protesters because, look, the law supports you, right? The law, wink, wink, is on your side.
Yeah.
So this is...
yeah, you're going to get repercussions. It's going to be a long investigation where nothing will happen.
Yeah, and so, like, officials pleading for calm, they're basically saying, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
They're saying,
Yeah.
she's dead. Yeah,
plead
they
for
murdered
calm.
her. Shut the fuck up. We're
Yeah.
not listening to you anyways.
Now go home. We don't care.
Yeah, not only, like, we care that you're protesting, but only so far as
Well,
it's
there was a police
inconveniencing
officer
us.
shot. I don't know if they died, but there was a police officer shot at one of these protests as a result of this news. And all I can say to the authorities in regards to that is, this is the bed you made.
Yeah.
You escalated this. You allowed this to happen.
Absolutely.
You're the ones who are supposed to be, protecting and serving the community, and you have failed to do that for so long that this is what it's come to.
Not even just failed to do that. Like, did the utter opposite. Like,
Yeah.
you are the danger to the community.
Yeah, I was, failed to do that in every single way is actually a euphemism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for murdering the members of your community. Like, it's horrific.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised that protests have again began to erupt. I can't say I'm surprised that an officer has been shot.
No.
And the same people that were applauding Kyle Rittenhouse are going to be the same people that are going to be shedding tears for this officer.
Because this isn't about community safety.
Again, they don't care about hypocrisy. None of these people care about hypocrisy. Like, obviously, with, like, a guy like Mitch McConnell being one of their kind of political big-time leaders, he obviously doesn't give a shit about hypocrisy when it comes to the Supreme Court picks, so or anything else for that matter, but it's a glaring most recent example.
Yeah, it's just nakedly supporting white supremacist violence.
Yeah.
That's it.
The hypocrisy and the moral consistency, it's not even on their radar.
No.
It's just not there.
Yeah. Like, you can keep using these words, but they don't give a fraction of a shit.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's getting harder to justify why the left or anyone liberal or anyone in the center even should maintain this air of civility when we're so far beyond being civil in so many ways. It's that question is getting larger all the time, and in relation to that, just another example of this brutality and police failing to hold police accountable. That even at a protest, a BLM protest in Seattle, police pepper spraying a 7-year-old boy at BLM protest in Seattle was lawful and proper, report finds.
Because of course it did.
Yeah. Because a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
Pepper spraying a 7-year-old is lawful and proper. When is enough enough? In every single way, shape, and form, these figures are failing us.
Yes. Yes.
Well, for a lot of people, enough has been enough. But
Yeah.
for some of us who are kind of sitting on the fence or sitting on our hands, it's again that question mark is just getting bigger all the time. Did I have...
I think that you want to talk about the lobster fishermen.
Oh, yes, thank you. Well, I don't have a screen queued up for it, but just to touch on it briefly, that again, this is a problem that keeps happening over and over again. Anytime our indigenous people want to use the land or the areas, I guess I can't literally say land when we're talking about waters, but you get what I mean. They're using what is rightfully theirs, as we have written and decided under our laws. As flawed as all our system might be, we're supposed to follow the laws, yes? Evidently, when it comes to how we treat indigenous people, those laws are kind of questionable to follow. So out east, in many parts of where lobster and various other things are being caught, the commercial fisheries are having an uprising against the basically small-time local indigenous fishermen that are just trying to make a small-time living. What they catch is a fraction, like something like, to the commercial fisheries, 10,000 lobsters, a local fishery would have 500. Differences like that. It's been modeled this way so it doesn't disrupt the ecosystem. So they're monitoring that, but in also such a way that it doesn't disrupt their commercial economy. So there are agreements made on this, and it's just disgusting that I say we as, colonial Canadians, that some of us don't have a freaking grip on this.
No. And like it's ridiculous that the white folks who are enacting this campaign of vandalism, harassment, and violence against the native fishermen, they're saying that they're just trying to protect the waters. Fuck off.
Yeah, that again, that's
right
like
off.
some backhanded stuff. That's arresting the officer for the bullets that missed Breonna Taylor. Backhanded stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, we're just trying to protect the waters. You said that to an indigenous guy, in behalf of screwing over an indigenous family.
Yeah. So
get right out of here.
Yeah. No, that's not a thing.
Gross.
So we should probably wrap things up pretty quick.
Yeah, that's basically most of what I wanted to cover. I just kind of wanted to go a little further on that and say again that this is stuff that we need to wake up to. There is way too many of us that take this stuff in stride. These conflicts with our indigenous peoples, and I know they hate our. Sorry about that. For the indigenous peoples, how we treat them as people who are on stolen land is they were firing flare guns at them. They were intimidating them by gathering outside their houses. The commercial fisheries against the indigenous, I mean, and it just astounds me the level of cruelty and evil that not only exists in those people, but the kind of like passive diet cruelty that exists in people just thinking that it's not that big a deal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it has been such an effective disinformation campaign in Canada about how privileged our Native communities are. Talking about like, oh, well, they don't pay tax. Oh, well, they get education for free. It's like, my dudes, like, you don't even know a fraction of what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
The last residential school was closed in like 1995. The stories coming out of the missing and murdered indigenous women, what was it, the missing and murdered, for Christ's sake, there's a word. What was the Truth and Reconciliation Committee.
Yeah.
Anyways, all those words are part of it. The stories coming out there of the horrors is like any small financial benefit that they may reap is utterly incomparable to the continual violence that they're facing. Like, none of it just even puts a dent in the horrific things that are continuing under colonialism and continual attempts at genocide. How many communities still don't have fucking drinking water in Canada? Like, it's disgusting. There's absolutely zero reason for this other than systemic racism.
Yeah. And, you know, for people who might roll their eyes at hearing that, you know, when we say systemic racism in a circumstance like that, we're talking about, it's not like for a lot of people and a lot of politicians in the position to make these decisions, it's not that they're acting with a certain type of malice where they just hate these people so much that they're depriving them of drinking water on purpose. No, it's a very convenient sort of like diet type of malice where it's not that you're actively doing something bad, it's that you see something bad is happening and you just don't think it's worth fixing.
Yeah.
It's that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference. That's what we're talking about in this systemic racism. So yeah, finally, the last section of the show, finally, I think Nat is here to talk about it a bit more. The section we like to call Nuts and Bolts. What are we doing for our communities lately? Have we reached out to the people around us and, you know, tried to build a better, stronger tomorrow through knowing our neighbors and knowing people who are in need and doing what we can?
Yeah. So I think both of us have signed up for to volunteer with the NDP because there's going to be a by-election next month.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're not sure who the dude is, or the that person. They don't know who the person is who's going to be running for the NDP in our riding just yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have all the information on what they need from us. But yeah, that's work in progress. Mostly I've been kind of falling back and just focusing on myself this week because I recognize that it's going to be a long winter and I need to be healthier for it. And so in order to be able to help other people, right? Like, I can't just stare into the void of the oncoming seasonal affective depression on top of the pandemic depression. Because then nothing will get done, no one will be helped, including myself. So right now I'm working on helping myself so I can help others.
Yeah, I'm still very much in a position of that. I've got, like, unfortunately, like, a lot of plates spinning right now. But I've you know, getting ready to release the next song and the next EP, and that's a big thing. And as always, when I try and do anything to do with my music, and I'm trying to think of a way, like the logistics of how this can work, where, because when I used to do live shows, you know, I do the canned food drive stuff.
Yeah.
And how do you do that on the internet? You know, I'm not sure how I'm going to facilitate that, but I'm trying to think of some way that I could do something for charity via the internet.
You should reach out to one of the local charities and community centers around. Ask specifically what they need under these current circumstances.
Ooh,
so
that's not a bad idea.
You don't even need to come up with it yourself. You choose one, you call them, and you're like, how can I help you? Help me help you.
Yeah, it's just like the logistics of, like, how do you get the donations over the internet?
I mean, it might just turn into a thing where they just need money, right?
Yeah.
Like, often money
Maybe
is
there's like I could do it through the PayPal thing, perhaps. I don't know.
Or because if it's online, then you don't even need to. You can just redirect to a specific charity homepage because they typically have their own links, right?
Ah, there you go.
Right.
There you
go.
Could
Tinkin'.
All right.
Yeah, that way you lead people to it, but then you remove yourself.
Well, I'll
from
have
the
more news on that soon. And speaking of my music stuff, I should follow up and say I still got to pick a winner for that contest last month about the custom song. So I'll be doing that very shortly. Don't worry, I have not forgotten.
What if I harass you to choose the person by Sunday?
Yeah, we could do that Sunday on the show. I could like draw a name from the hat or something like that. And then what else? What else do I got to say before I wrap this thing up? I feel like there's something I'm forgetting. But yeah, that's basically, well, yeah, in terms of the nuts and bolts segment, yeah, that's what I'm looking to do is anytime I, do something music-wise, I got to think of something that can incorporate it to, bettering the community around me. So, I think that's about a wrap for me. This has been the Ruff Report. I am Jimmy Ruffian.
And I'm Nat something or other.
Something
Smith.
or other?
Nat Smith.
Nat Smith tonight. Oh, okay. Thank you so much for watching, as always. I should plug this because now we're on the YouTube. Go to our Patreon, The Rough Go. There's going to be some perks coming up there exclusive for our podcast watchers. I have a couple up there right now that I think for music stuff. But for our podcast people, I'm going to have more specific ones for that. Or if you want to donate to our PayPal, that has been posted multiple times throughout my Twitter and the Rough Go Facebook page. I'll always be posting the links again if you want to help out the podcast through those means, as well as, of course, like the video and subscribe and ding the bell, all those wonderful things, so you can always see more updates and more content coming from us. I'm going to be releasing I'm going to be doing some streaming music video stuff on here a bit more.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to take